Good afternoon and welcome to Chris 180's Lunchtime Live series. I'm Chandra Luckett, Chief Marketing Officer here at Chris 180, and we're thrilled that you've joined us for yet again another installment of our conversation series. Parenting during a pandemic. Who knew that it would involve parents becoming virtual teachers 6 months later? And yet, here we are in September, and kids around Metro Atlanta are navigating through the waters of being in school with masks or being at home or being partially virtual and at home at the same time. But at the end of the day, the parents, the caregivers, and the teachers are the ones who are bearing the burden of much of this virtual learning. How can parents build resilience when there is so much uncertainty in the world? Today, our school-based mental health therapist will be here to share tips and resources for all of you as you navigate through these unprecedented times. Our panelists today are Connie Pritchett and Laura Mallard, both from our school-based mental health team, which works in over 70 schools across Metro Atlanta school districts. We're excited they're here today to join the conversation, and we ask you to share your comments and questions in the comments, and we'll answer those live on the air. Laura and Connie, take it away.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here today.
I agree.
It's good to see a colleague face to face because we're doing Zoom so much, which is probably what parents are dealing with as well.
Absolutely. Live and in the flesh.
Yeah.
So, we are here to really just kind of initiate a conversation, frank, open, and honest. We're both parents ourselves and mental health therapists in the schools. So any comments, any questions, any topics, nothing is really off limits. And we'll get started.
Yeah, we'll get started. Connie, I think you have younger elementary and one middle, and I have a middle and a high school student. So
Yes.
that brings its own challenges, just the differences with the learning and the differences with the way that they handle the pandemic. So I don't know how you kind of are dealing with that in your house.
Yeah, and a toddler who's a little cherry on top of the parenting during school. For me, it's been important to really be kind to myself and be patient with myself. And one thing I think the pandemic has done is just kind of put the whole world on one hand in slow motion. And that has been helpful. It's forced me to slow down. And so with that, I try to just apply that same principle, letting some stuff slide. If they don't go to bed on time, maybe it's okay for now. If they don't wake up on time, it may just be okay. And learning is it takes time. So even just from the first week of when my kids started school and to now, I'm seeing them adapt and just really kind of take it on. So I'm learning from them also.
It's really amazing to see the resiliency that our children have, the way that they've just been able to adapt. If you think about it, when school ended in March, I mean, it just ended. It was very abrupt. And so our kids just kind of rolled with it. And they are a great example for us as parents to kind of show your kids that things happen. This is weird. We're all in what is called collective trauma right now. We're all experiencing the same traumatic event. How you handle that as a family really starts from the top down. We're as parents kind of worrying about things. I know my kids have been playing a lot more video games than we normally do, just because that's how they kind of relax and self-regulate. And so now, if our kids should see that we are calming down, that we are rolling with the punches, they kind of take their cues from us. And so it's a nice way to provide some balance within the family, I think, and kind of start an open dialogue of, hey, we're all in this together, and I'm kind of up in the air and I don't know what's going on. And so let's talk about it. How are you feeling? What can we do as a family to really improve how we're feeling, to be open and honest?
Yeah, it is all of our first pandemic together, certainly so.
Definitely. And I think one of the things that we probably should address is that the pandemic looks different for many different people. There are some people that they are fine with schooling at home. They have the resources. They have the ability to work from home. And there's other people that maybe don't. They don't have those same resources.
Definitely. Yeah, there's so many, while we're all being unified as a society, there's also so many variances and differences in the experience are truly just completely different for each and every household. And then also for every child, just the different personalities and the different things they may need to learn. So that's one thing that I really take to heart as a therapist and being with our families who sometimes are in the most vulnerable positions, and learning from their resilience and just listening to what their needs are is helpful, and it helps get me through each day, as well as hopefully they're building resilience also.
So I think we actually have a question.
Yeah, so this one comes from Brittany on Instagram, and she asks, do you recommend exercise breaks between classes?
Oh, everybody should have an exercise break between classes. Everybody needs to get up. I just in my own sessions, if I have a student that I know that they have been working all day long on Zoom, we start our sessions with a little wiggle break, just a little do this or shake it out or just do something to kind of stand up and get some movement, because I feel like we're all just kind of sitting lately.
Yeah, and not only exercise breaks, I recommend having different stations. Just as in the school day, you go to classroom, you go outside for recess, you go into another space for lunch. So breaking up that workspace, it doesn't just have to be at a desk. It can be outside. It can be wherever your Wi-Fi connection will extend. You can break up the day with different stations to incorporate movement.
Yeah, and it helps to kind of, especially if you're working from home, it helps to set up a space. So you have your school space, and that can look very untraditional. It could be, if you're more comfortable sitting on the floor, then sit on the floor. But then to make sure that you take a break, you leave your room, go eat lunch, go stand outside, just go look at out the window for 10 minutes or something that break it up. Because as we're sitting in our houses, it can feel like you're living Groundhog Day, same day over and over and over again. So the way that you break it up really helps with resiliency and mood.
Yeah, and on the other side of that, if your kids are tired, one thing that I shared with my son, he was so tired because he didn't go to bed on time. To take a nap. He asked me if he could take a nap, and I said, you know what? As long as you wake up by the time your teacher gets back on Zoom, you can lay there and take a nap. So if they're tired, they can rest. That's one benefit of virtual school right now, because we could not do that in the school building at all. So if they need a power nap, they can take a power nap.
So I know that we're because Chris 180 serves many different school districts, we have parents that are, they're not starting back in person until maybe December. They're not starting back, or they're doing virtual and half virtual, half non-virtual. Then there's some schools that they're getting ready to come back in October. So as parents, we're starting to have to make some decisions and to really put ourselves in a position we never thought we would, because, when school starts, you just send your kids off to school. But now it's, do I let them stay home? Do I keep them at home for 4 days and then they go in at 1? How do I deal with that? And I think that really depends on your family, and I think it also really depends on the needs of your family. Do you have someone who's high risk in your house? Can you stay home? Can someone stay home? If not, there are things that you can do to kind of get a little bit of that control back that you may feel like you have lost with the pandemic, because we're all just kind of wondering, when is this going to end? What's going on? So there are things that you can do as a parent to kind of make things as normal as possible.
And I think to add to that, Laura, not only you do what's right for your family, but this is a time where you can really connect in different ways with your community, because we have different views. So, no one really probably has time to convince or, to see it my way, or we should do this. So rather than even engaging in debates, when you find maybe you're a network of parents or peers who share similar quarantine styles, you can kind of develop some new cultural norms that way. I know with sports starting, football, basketball, softball, that was almost like an introduction to what it may look like when kids are back face to face. They're outdoors, they're social distancing, but that was really my first time where, I wanted to do something this way, but I relied on the different parents and just kind of talking at the practices, like, what are we going to do? What are you doing? Because certainly societal, like adult peer pressure is real. Because I know I was thinking, I just want to lock my kids at home, and when it's over, somebody come and let me know.
Knock on the door, let me know. Yeah.
But that's not what they wanted. That wasn't good for them. And just culturally, sports are happening in Georgia. So I'm like, okay, I gotta adapt and still balance what is safe, but also fit in and buy into a cultural norm that works for everybody.
And one of the things that I was talking about that part of control and how you're thinking, I wish I could control other people and you can't, and like, how do I keep them safe? So what you can do is you can bring that focus of control back to your house. And it kind of makes me think of when you're potty training your kids and you're getting them ready and you make it exciting. And so you go to Target or Walmart and you buy the cool, big boy, big girl underwear. So now that kids are maybe a little bit older, transfer that to masks. You go to the store, you buy the cool masks. There's so many ways that you can have like superhero and pop culture, sports, all kinds of masks. Pick out your favorite scent of hand sanitizer. Go over hygiene rules with your kids and what you need to do to stay safe in this situation. And that goes for parents, that goes for teachers as well, because I know teachers are worried about going back. So think of the things that you can possibly control, even if it's just something as small as what you order online for a mask. It really is about taking that control back.
So I think we have another question.
We actually have two. So the first is from DJ, and he asks, what are some tips for when you and your child are both feeling anxious and stressed?
That's the therapist mindfulness. That's the first place we go, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Just to be totally transparent, my first thought was apologize. Apologies. Apologies are okay in parenting. And I know that I've had to apologize when I let my anxiety get the best of me and it becomes irritability and voices need to be raised. And you can, when you're in it, it's so much harder to practice mindfulness, which we can share with you all. But just to be honest, like sometimes it doesn't always work in the moment. And so that's when I rely on, again, that patience and apologies. So once the apologies happen and you just kind of call out, you validate the experience. Okay, I just lost it. You know what? I'm sorry. Okay, now let's take a deep breath together. So you can practice breathing. There's belly breathing when you just breathe through your diaphragm and you see the stomach expand.
Yeah, because it seems like when we get anxious or stressed, the first thing that we either breathe too quickly because we're fight or flight, try to get out of there, or we hold our breath. And I know I'm one of those people that I tend to hold my breath. My shoulders go up to my ears. And so it's just more of like a quick body check. Bring your shoulders down. Take a deep breath, slow it down a little bit and really kind of be where you are. And you had a great example of an M&M.
Yeah, so the one mindfulness practice, because we hear that buzzword a lot, mindfulness. What does it really mean? And the quickest way I can describe it is just kind of letting the present exist, and what happens in the present just happen without judgment, without having to come to a conclusion. So if anybody has candy with them, you can just place that piece of candy. M&M works great, and you can practice this with your kids at home. You can get the M&Ms melt in your mouth, not in your hand. So you put the M&M on your tongue, and in about 30 seconds, you'll feel the chocolate melting. And as it's melting, just let it melt. And your thoughts will start coming. And just imagine that your thoughts are scanning just one by one. And as they come, you don't have to do anything about them. You just let them exist. And you're just concentrating on the feeling of the chocolate melting in your mouth. So that's one way to kind of quickly explain kind of how mindfulness can work, especially with our young ones, our little ones.
And we had another question.
Yes, this one comes from Grace on Facebook. And she asks, is there a good way to support parents that are colleagues on our teams? I can't imagine how overwhelming it is to be teaching, parenting, and working all at once.
It goes back to that collective trauma that we're all experiencing. Reach out. I don't think there's anyone that doesn't understand what's going on right now. And so just kind of saying, hey, what are things like at your house? Because here's what's going on at mine. It's this is the time to be open and transparent and really know that we're all in the same situation. So like you said, network, rely on your parents. Just talking to my own colleagues, just right now, learning things about your family. And it's just so wonderful to be able to talk to someone who really knows what is going on.
Yeah, and allowing the space to be vulnerable. And it's a new venture, I think, particularly in the professional environment. But it's now, I think it's embraced more. When your child pops on screen, that's a vulnerable moment. But that vulnerability that you expose yourself to and allow to happen, that's what builds the connection and the intimacy from a professional standpoint, with limitations, of course, and then in our home environment as well.
And I think it's going into that be present, not perfect. I know, like you said, your kids popping on Zoom, or I think everybody's just been kind of joking that we're all kind of business on the top on Zoom calls, and then yoga pants, pajama pants on the bottom, just kind of laugh about that. But one thing that it's also important to kind of remember is that this is going to look different by the age of the child. So you tend to have younger elementary students.
Mm-hmm.
So how is that looking in your house, really?
Yeah, it's my kids, it just depends on the day of the week. Sometimes my 3-year-old may be having the meltdown, or he may just get up and just say, you know what, I'm good, I'm gonna have a great day. So just really, depending on how much sleep they've gotten, how hungry they are, I cannot stress enough how important it is to be aware of the sleep and the nutrition value of our children, because it affects their behavior tremendously. I don't preach, they have to eat, make sure they're eating, vegetable and protein every meal. Because let's face it, sometimes it just doesn't happen. But it's important to be aware. Did they skip a meal? Did they stay up on Fortnite till midnight? Having that awareness and just really knowing what's going on. However whatever your parenting style is, it's okay. But just having the awareness, that can really help navigate your response into how they act on, that following day, throughout the day.
I have a middle schooler and a high schooler, and so it's a little bit of a luxury that they're more autonomous. They can get themselves onto Zoom, they can kind of do their classes, but it's still really important to check in with them because because your middle schooler and your high schooler, they're going, it's a tough age anyway. They may keep a lot of it inside. So really pay attention to how they're acting when they're not on Zoom. Are they retreating into their room more than normal? Are they not talking as much? That age is so social, and that's been taken away from them. So, just kind of if are they feeling overwhelmed? Is that why they may not be logging into their classes? And so it's really still important to check in, even if you're able to have be a little bit more hands-off. But I think we have another question.
Yes, this one is from Bree on Instagram, and it says, how do you make sure your kids don't feel neglected during this time? Since we are working from home, how does the family know this is family time or this is work time?
That's a big one.
Yeah, communication is key.
Yeah.
Just to give a quick story, just before I came in here, this is part of the day, right? And then go back to motherhood in the perspective of our kids. We're both away. My kids don't care. My son just called me and was like, what's for lunch? And I was like, well, I'm getting ready to do something. I'm not even at home right now. And it's like, okay, so again, what am I eating? So, just communicating with them and keeping the lines open. I think that can really help. Now, are they going to understand and comprehend that boundary? Not necessarily, but just keeping the lines of communication open. I think that's the best thing that I can think of right now.
And one of the things that's very important is to have rituals. I know that we use that here at Chris 180, rituals and routines. So when you're counseling at home, I bought a sound machine. So when that sound machine, I counsel from my bedroom. So when the sound machine goes on the outside, everyone in my family knows that's mom's working right now. So when that sound machine goes off and my door opens, it's okay to come in. And then when the day is over, you know, we have dinner together. If you can have dinner together, or if you can watch a show together, it's just important to do whatever ritual and routine you have right now. But I think we have another question.
Yes, this one is from Lauren on Facebook, and she asked, what are some self-care strategies, mantras, or bits of wisdom that each of you have picked up during this time that might be helpful for other parents to hear?
Well, I know we have this acronym in our house, and my son came up with it, and it's called PMA, and it's positive mental attitude. And one day, you know, I don't know who was not having the positive mental attitude, but he decided to make the signs all around the house, and I, you know, I kept them, and I just kind of, they serve as like our mantra and our reminder to ourselves that everybody can comprehend, even my 3-year-old. Hey, PMA, when you're whining or when someone's really irritable, PMA. So that's, you know, whatever, like a code of something that just your family may understand can be helpful, coming up with it together. You know, hey guys, what do we want to call this? You know, time. That's helpful. Mantras.
I know in my house, we love to laugh. We're big on humor. So we, throughout the day, I hope this won't make the teachers mad, my kids have, but throughout the day, we'll text each other just silly gifts or silly videos or something like that. And so that really kind of helps to boost our spirits a little bit. But physical self-care, you know, when you think of self-care, you're thinking of a yoga class, but it can be something as simple as just going outside for 5 minutes. I know that there's concern about kids being on their screen so much and eye strain. So I just picked up these little blue blocker glasses at Target, and they block those blue lights when you're on your screen a lot and help to keep your eyes not as tired. But if this maybe is something that it's not in your budget or you're looking for a simple thing, I think it's like, 30 minutes or 20 minutes on screen, and then you look away for a minute. And so that way you get your eyes drained. And I know we try not to do screen time, but this is kind of one of those times where we have to be resilient. We have to be a little bit, kind of go out of our comfort zone and just try to absorb it. Sometimes it could even be something as simple as just taking maybe a little bit longer shower, or grabbing that bag of M&Ms and really savoring them if that's not something that you buy for yourself regularly.
So we'll have another question.
So
This
one says, I'm a teacher and I'm concerned about safety and going back, but I don't think I have much of a choice. Any tips for me to calm my anxiety?
That is that's a hard one, because I really feel for teachers. Got to shout out teachers. I have a ton of them in my family. So I really feel for you, because this is not how you were taught to teach. You were not taught to teach online. You were taught to have your kids in your classroom. And so you want to go back, but there's also that big fear there. So kind of the same thing that we've been telling parents, you know, pick out your mask, set your classroom rules. You know, you already have classroom rules. So just adapt them to deal with COVID and, you know, hygiene and, you know, we all wash our hands and we all use hand sanitizers.
Yeah, and I think also, again, going back to the vulnerability, this is a time more than ever where you can be a little more vulnerable with your colleagues. So take a trusted colleague and share some of those anxieties. And I bet there are some more colleagues who feel the same way. And that can just having someone who's in your same situation to share with, that can be helpful. You know, and who knows, you may be able to voice those concerns in a way that can affect change in the environment that you're in, and bring it all the way up to the administration, perhaps, in a safe and effective way that you're able to live with also.
And I think also if you know, just to kind of, we're school-based. So if we're in one of your schools, just reach out to us. Just even if you just need a little safe space to kind of be like, hey, can you teach me a quick breathing technique, or I just need to vent. Just reach out. Reaching out is so important. And we have another question.
Yes, this is, what are your thoughts on independence in children? should we be super involved in their day-to-day virtual learning?
I think you and I have had this discussion.
Yeah, we
before.
certainly have. Again, I think it depends on your child, and then also just kind of having that awareness of what's going on. Some kids need the independence because they may be leaning on you too much. Like, hey, mom's right there. Hey, mom, what's this question? What's this? Do this for me. And then you have other kids on the other side where we're smothering them and limiting their, there's so many funny social media memes kind of illustrating what helicopter parenting can look like on camera. And I know the teachers can tell, when the parent
the hand comes over.
It's a balance. But I think in general, they don't really need us. They went to school without us every single day, and the teachers handled it.
Yeah.
And they will call us and let us know when we're needed. And they can certainly do that virtually as well. So I think more of a hands-off approach is probably the blanket strategy right now.
Sure, and this is another one of those family conversations to have of hey, I can monitor your time, but everything else you need to do on your own. Like the example of opening up glue or opening up a yogurt. That's something that we wouldn't go to their school to do. But we make sure that they wake up on time or they get up on the bus on time. So those kind of help to maintain that same routine, but it looks a little different in your house.
And of course, again, just those lines of communication, our kids will tell us. And what we do sometimes just have to ask them, what do you need? Do you need me to back away? Yes, Mom, I need you to back. Like, oh, okay. So just really having that open line of communication.
And one of the things, as we talk about being really open and vulnerable with people is there's no stigma for asking for help. Mental health is just as important as physical health. So just like you would go to the doctor if you had a sore throat, and it may not be the best thing to say right now during COVID, but ask for help. It's okay. It's not a stigma. It's all right to say, hey, I'm struggling a little bit right now.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that this pandemic has exposed. It's like we're being almost like forced into a vulnerability together, and we can really leverage that as a society and peel back those stigma that can exist, particularly in our most vulnerable populations, our African American and Latino communities. There is a strong stigma that is real, that you may not want to ask for help. But right now, take advantage of this time. There's more liberties with healthcare, with jobs, having that leniency if you need a break or a respite. So really just communicate and step out of your comfort zone if you can.
So as we're kind of wrapping up, I think the one closing thought that I have is just really give yourself grace, give your kids grace, give your teachers grace. We're all in this together, and we really all need to kind of be open and just kind of kind. And so if today's not the best day, you go to bed, tomorrow's going to be better. We're going to get through this. I think we really are going to get through this.
Yeah, each day is a new day, and it looks different. How you feel one day may not be how you feel the next. I know some days are definitely better than others.
Yes.
Well, we want to thank both Connie and Laura for being here today and for sharing insight with our community. We really appreciate each of you for spending a little bit of time on your lunch break or maybe your exercise break from virtual learning to be here with us today. We appreciate your continued engagement on our Lunchtime Live series, and we look forward to seeing you back here next month. Another great tip to take with you in the meantime, Connie has authored a new blog post for us on chris180.org surrounding the pandemic parent. Check it out, and please let us know if you have any thoughts or comments on future topics or blog posts. We hope to always be a resource. If you or someone you know is going through a difficult time in this season and you need someone to talk to, our counselors are here to support you. We have trained therapists in our school-based program and throughout counseling centers across Metro Atlanta. All you have to do is go to chris180.org. That's chris180.org to make an appointment. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you back here next month.